It's time to paint your front door. If you're looking to do that, but you need a little color advice, welcome to the channel because I'm about to help you out. I have 7 front door paint colors that I picked to serve the greatest amount of people. No 2 colors here are alike, and that's by design. Most houses are pretty unique, and even more so are the owners themselves. I find that front door colors are similar to accent wall colors, and that's why I treat them in a very similar way. You don't necessarily need to pick something crazy, but it's so much more fun when you do. This is why you often see relatively neutral looking houses with a bright colored front door or something that's dark and bold, because it really is an opportunity to push the envelope a bit. It'll naturally draw the eye and accentuate the front of your home, which is naturally where you want people to come to, assuming you like to socialize. While you can go for the more conservative route and stick to neutral colors that already exist on the body of your house or on the trim, I'm about to give you some of the more interesting options that will help you stand out just a little bit. Starting with off black in the form of cracked pepper, which is arguably the most neutral color on this list, even though it has a really low and dark LRV of 8. This puts it in the dark color category for sure, and you can mistake it for being a black, but to me it reads more as a charcoal gray, and this is especially the case when you use it outside. And that's because the more light you give a color, the lighter it'll appear to you, and the sun, it's a pretty big light source, and that makes even the darkest paint colors feel a little bit lighter. Being a gray based color, you don't have very strong undertones visually, but when you use it outside on your front door, this color does tend to cool down a bit visually and introduce a very slight blue undertone. And if that spooks you out a little bit, that whole blue undertone, don't worry too much, because any other color you use outside will also feel a tad cooler too, so it just tends to even out a little bit. Though I don't necessarily recommend using your front door accent color on your garage door. This is a scenario where it wouldn't be too bad of an idea, because you don't get that same vibrancy with cracked pepper that some of these other paint colors have. The next color I want to talk about is blue, which is just as varied as gray. There are a lot of directions you could take blue, but in this context, I went with something darker that was a bit shaded and had just a touch of green as well to help soften the cool light of the sun. The paint color also has a beautiful name, In Winter in Paris. We can already see a lot more of a color hue in this one, but I would still say it is more on the tame side of things. With a light reflectance value of 23, this is a color that would look quite dark in a lot of interior spaces, but it suits the outside just fine. I like going for a dark, soft blue outside because it can fit pretty neatly amongst a lighter grayscale color scheme, but it can also feel more complementary when you start to pair it with warmer orange and red exterior components. When you use it outside as a front door color, even if it stands out, which is what it's supposed to do, it won't be overly obnoxious. It'll be more of a subtle accent color, especially when you compare it to a much more saturated, vibrant blue. Now we're moving on to red as a front door color, and this one is a biggie. I heard a story that people in Scotland would paint the front door red when their mortgage was paid off, which I found super interesting. That's why the red that I picked as an example is called No More Drama, because that'll be your life when you have no more mortgage payments. Am I right? Coincidentally, we have another darker color here with a 12 LRV, and this color is so saturated with that red. It has this rich ruby-like coloration that does a fantastic job at drawing the eye. A red front door is truly timeless. That's why you see it pretty often. A bit like a nice red lipstick. Not that I would know anything about that. But what if you wanted something similar, but didn't want to conform to a stereotype of some sort? What if your mortgage is only partially paid off? I mean, you can't go full red, right? Well, you can always add a little bit of yellow and go with an orange front door. Not nearly as common as red, orange just gives you a more fiery alternative that feels a little more energetic and zesty. The one that I chose is called Top Tomato, which sounds like a red, but although it contains quite a bit of red, it's warm enough to put it into deep orange territory. You also have an LRV that's a few points higher at around 18, and that'll just add further to the color's dynamism. I like going with orange when the rest of your house leans more into those warmer tones like beige, brown, and taupe, and even orange to a lesser degree. It just seems more catered to those types of colors over something like a traditional ruby or burgundy red. I want to move on to some lighter colors because not everyone is down for a mega dark front door. And I've recently seen a lot of people embracing turquoise, especially on those lighter off-white houses. You may have seen on Pinterest a lot of houses picking colors like Key Largo, which end up feeling like a beautifully rich aquamarine Tiffany blue. And this color specifically sits at around a 59 LRV, which technically means it is a lighter mid-tone color, but outside it'll really lighten up and feel just right. This color is extremely saturated with color, and I think it performs well when the rest of the house is pretty understated color-wise. The same goes for our next color, which uses a lot of principles from turquoise, but the color looks way different. It's yellow, and the yellow that I selected is called Buzz In. Sort of an awkward spelling because you would think it's supposed to represent the buzzing of a bee, but it's really spelt like someone buzzing in on a game show. Oh well, that was my interpretation of it at least. This is the lightest color that I'm going to talk about today with an LRV of 72. And not unlike the last one, this one feels far from an off-white. It's kind of light technically, but it feels a lot lighter outside. Yellow happens to also be the most energetic color that exists in color theory, so yellow on your front door is really going to draw the eye. Colors like this are really effective if you have a rather intricate front door that you want to show off, because people will be looking whether you like it or not. You could also take yellow into a more browny Dijon mustard direction, but I think if you're going yellow on your front door, you might as well go all the way. Okay? A color that is starting to grow in popularity on front doors, believe it or not, is purple. Another deviation away from red, kind of like orange, but purple goes the other way by adding blue instead of yellow. My recommendation would be something deep and moody, like Paparazzi. This color has an 8 LRV, which makes it tied for the darkest color on this list. What I like about it is it's definitely different, which I think is important, but its purple color hue is somewhat modest because of its overly shaded quality, meaning it's not going to feel obnoxious. Like any color, it will appear a bit lighter and brighter outside during the day, but not so much where you might regret your decision. It's really important to have fun with your front door, or an accent wall for that matter. Accent walls are another way you can introduce color into a smaller portion of your design, and right here is where we talk all about them.